After a certain amount of time of other people abandoning you, you subconsciously made that a response and started abandoning yourself. Within the last few months, you recently had changed that because you've started to recognize that you were doing it almost on autopilot without recognizing that you were. And this is the card that deals with independence. You recognized that you don't need to do what you were taught as a defense mechanism by others to do. That may work for them, but it wasn't working for you, and you took your power back here. You healed what it was in terms of mindset that was causing you to not show up for yourself in the way that you needed to. You're showing up that way now. Let's unpack it. What do we need to know about why you were not showing up for yourself before? We have the World, the King of Cups in reverse, and the Seven of Cups. It's like you weren't given the tools previously by those who maybe raised you or those who were around you. Either you weren't ever taught the tools, or you had been taught them but had to repress them because either there wasn't a safe space, or those who were around you more recently were causing you to lose connection with yourself and hence forget the tools that you had when it came to emotionally processing a feeling of having to move forward without understanding all of the answers you were given. It's like you had to continue to take steps forward so that you could understand the lessons that you completed in the previous chapter. And before, you felt like you couldn't move into the next chapter until you fully understood the last. But it's in using the wisdom that you complete the understanding of the lesson. And you chose to stay aligned with self-love here. And because you did, there's this feeling of your own intuition is beating out whatever it was that was trying to hold you back previously, because you learned how to nurture yourself. There's this feeling of needing to reparent yourself here. And in doing so, you learn how to defend against the feeling of self-hatred or self-deprivation, or you learned how to stop abandoning yourself. This was that previous abandonment, and you learned how to protect yourself against it because it all started with your state of mind. And that's something that you got a lot of control over, especially recently. You took back the ability to represent yourself from a place of self-love. And whatever was previously causing you to battle against yourself, you no longer have to worry about that, because you have this emotional balance now that will allow you to continue to show up for yourself and not abandon yourself even when it gets hard. Not doing this anymore, not separating from your own self, because that was not leading you to a place of fulfillment. You were taking steps backward instead of steps forward every time you would abandon yourself. But you weren't doing it in a term of purposeful self-sabotage. This was more of like an autopilot that I'm not recognizing as pulling me backwards instead of protecting me in place. What are the tools that you're using now that you weren't using before? We have Six of Wands in reverse, Three of Pentacles, and Page of Cups. There's a feeling of when you're in private, you are not being so hard or negative on yourself, because you're viewing yourself almost as like you're viewing the part of you that was wounded as a child almost as separate from you. It's almost like you're looking at that version of yourself and saying, how can I help you? What do you need from me? How can I be on your team here? How can we work together here? Instead of suppressing that part of yourself and then getting mad at yourself for that part trying to make itself known so it can be healed. You have quite literally set yourself up for some kind of, it's like you uproot yourself from what wasn't serving you and you plant yourself in the soil that you will be able to stay in and grow and expand and thrive. You've found the soil that you were meant to be in all along. And the secret that's being revealed is there's fast movement coming because of this. There's a feeling of jumping timelines, jumping chapters, ending this book and starting a whole new book in the series, okay? And what previously was a false start was actually just protection until you were ready to not abandon yourself. And now you're being presented with this opportunity for grounding, opportunity for stability, because your spirit team knows that if times do get hard again, you're going to continue to show up for yourself. Good job.